Not That Kind of Christian here with chapter 8 of my novel, The Sash My Father Wore. This is called Recovery and Debriefing. I might add that there is a trigger warning here because I do go into some little detail about self-harm. The particular incidents of self-harm that I do describe actually happened to a person, Mel White, the Bishop Mel White in America, leader of the first gay bishop. Well, he had to attend to a young lad in hospital who had harmed himself in the way described here. This actually took place, and I just want to tell you that, okay? Right, I'll begin in 1 second. Stories of what happened to me after Mum had withdrawn from our lounge that Tuesday morning seem to vary according to the person conveying each account. It was like several people witnessing a road accident because they'd all seen different parts of the same scene. Their descriptions didn't match. The first thing, at least, they had all agreed on was that by the time the white ambulance bells could be heard outside, together with the screech of rubber on tarmac, I was unconscious. The front door had been opened to the pungent smell of that burning rubber, revealing two large skid marks at the back of the ambulance as its doors flew open. I was transferred straight onto a stretcher with my legs elevated as Mum said I was bleeding heavily from around the area of my groin. One of the ambulance men shouted to his partner, "Major hemorrhage protocol, Tim. Quickly, mate." The black uniformed ambulance men had been swift. Considering the small roads, the heavy traffic, and the time of day, their response had been life-saving. Everybody agreed on that much. It was only later that I was told I nearly bled out. They were also agreed that I'd been laying in intensive care in a medically induced coma for 2 weeks before my transfer to the psychiatric ward, where I was presently on constant observation. Having got me sitting up in bed, Mum began telling me the story while sipping tea from a white mug with the letters NHS formed into a logo. Constant observation, she said, means they have to watch you closely to make sure you're safe. A white uniformed nurse in a press tunic looked over towards me. He smiled kindly. His face looked soft. He was wearing the silver-framed eyeglasses. Mum put her tea mug down on my small bedside locker. With a reassuring nod, the nurse checked the monitors and adjusted the IV drip beside me. The glass bottle of clear fluid was still 3/4 full. "James," she began, reaching again for the mug as she leaned in towards me, "Bishop Haig says that you had the strength of 10 men." She sipped her tea. I could see it was hot as she lowered it, cradling it in her lap. "He says you flew at him." She looked timid, withdrawing a little back into her plastic chair, setting the mug down on the cabinet next to my plastic water jug. Mine was the only plastic one on the ward, just as mine was the only plastic drinking vessel. The nurse with the kind eyes looked over at us both briefly before walking off towards the nursing station. "James, Bishop Haig said you were backing up to sit on the chair we designated for the ritual. You had in your palm a small wooden cross he carried in Vietnam under his flak jacket. And you..." She fumbled for words, shuffling the chair further away from me. Her eyes looked wide. It seemed she was fighting to keep herself calm. She tried again, speaking a little louder. Bishop Haig says you held the cross of Jesus between your fingers and raised your hand as a fist, and before he could restrain you, you were jamming it in his right eye. She was becoming frantic as, in exasperation, she continued, this time pleading with me for an answer. James, why did you attack him with the cross of Jesus? Why did you stab Jesus into his eye, causing him to react and try and restrain you? They're not sure if they'll be able to save his sight. You use such almighty force, but still he tried to restrain you, wounded as he was. She looked confused, as if she were trying to find an answer for something unanswerable. There was a cross this strong man had given me as a symbol he valued, this symbol of pain, suffering, mockery, degradation, and I, her youngest son, with a strength that was unknown to me before, had turned it into something with which I could inflict pain, something so precious, so holy, I had abused, and now she was trying to work out if I was sick, or was this the work of a demon? If I was sick, maybe God wouldn't count this blasphemy against the cross of Jesus against me. Mum, I don't remember any of that. I don't even know how I got here, and I don't remember stabbing anybody with a cross. I could see the fear and confusion in her eyes as she struggled to process my words. I realised how deeply this situation had affected her. And we'll pause that there, and I'll be back with part 2 shortly.